how does the food work? So there is a main dining room called MDR for short sometimes, with those of us who've been in it for a while, and we know the acronyms, we don't sound like we know what we're talking about. So for that, that is the sit-down restaurant where you were served by a waiter and a beverage server, that sort of a thing. On formal night, that's where you need to dress up to receive service. It's the only place you need to dress up to receive service. It has a dress code. There's cruise casual and cruise formal, which we have YouTube videos out that will explain to you in detail what those mean on the different days. So they have standard service, and there are 3 options for how you can eat. There's your time dining, early dining, and late dining. Your time dining is the one we generally use because you can go anytime, and it's like going to a cheesecake factory, and you just wait for a table. And if there's a long wait, they might give you a beep or a page or something, and within reason you can wait in the atrium, listen to some music, grab a drink at the bar, whatever, hang out, and then you get buzzed and you go in when a table is ready. With your time dining, there may or may not be a wait, but you can go whenever you want, anytime the hours of the restaurant being open. So you have a broader period of time you can eat. So if you're on an excursion that brings you back late on a port day, or you're just not hungry at a particular time, you get a lot more flexibility, but you understand and you accept that there's a bit of a risk that you might have to wait for a while. The food's all free anyways, so that I like for the flexibility. You might have a scheduling conflict with a comedy show that you want to see or something like that. So your time dining is what we normally do. The other option is early or late dining. Those are very similar. They have set times. The early is obviously early. The late is about 8:15, I believe. And so with that, there are some benefits and drawbacks. The benefit is that you don't have to wait once the time has begun. And so on your first day, you show up, you show your card, and they will show you to your assigned seat. This is the table you'll be dining at the entire length of the cruise in that restaurant in the evenings for dinner. It's a little different for lunch and breakfast. Lunch and breakfast is like your time dining. You just show up and they seat you. And because those seatings are not so busy, you generally don't have much of a wait. So when you do your time dining, it's a different table every night, possibly, or it might be some consistency. You could have a different waiter and beverage server every time. You could be seated somewhere that's like maybe you're near the engines, or maybe you got a great view of the dancing. So there's randomness there. With the scheduled time dining, the early or late, you have the same waiter, beverage server, and table the entire time. And so the first day, you're shown your table. From every subsequent day, you just go there like 8:15. They open the doors and everybody scrambles to their table. And so it's like chaos for a second, but then suddenly everyone's seated. And so you get consistency. The waiter, the beverage server gets to know you. They might know your drink order. They might know if you have bottomless bubbles, bring you that Coke as soon as you sit down because they know you like it all the time. I've had that experience. So there's benefits and drawbacks to both. Your mileage may vary. Choose what suits you well. That's the main dining room. But that is not the only option for food on the ship. There's a variety of others. So on Lido, there's a buffet that is open most hours of the day, sort of in the early morning to like maybe 11 o'clock, midnight time, depending on the ships. And they do have little periods where they might shut down for like an hour from like 4 to 5 to switch over from lunch to dinner, something like that. But by and large, something is almost always open on Lido during sort of standard waking hours. And so they'll have buffets. They'll often be like a salad bar. They'll have different buffets that might have the food offerings change day to day. And like some of them will be themed. It'll be like Italian or All-American or whatever on different times. And sometimes they have special things, like maybe they might have late night good eats where there's like hot dogs and cheeseburgers from like 11 till 1, something like that. So the Hub app or the Fun Times, either of those will tell you the different times that you can get what kind of food at Lido. So Lido's normally a pretty good bet. You can go up there. Another option that is 24 hours is the Pizza Pirate. They have 4 or 5 different type of pizza. I recommend the margarita or the pepperoni. Those are both very good. You can also get a Caesar salad, although I find it a little heavy in the anchovies for me. That's 24 hours. You can always get that. With an exception. I have been on the odd ship where the Pizza Pirate converts to the Omlette Station for breakfast. And yet they still say 24-hour pizza everywhere, but you can't get it during breakfast hours. That's normally in the fantasy class or smaller ships, and so I've only encountered that once or twice, and honestly, I didn't want pizza at that time anyway, so it didn't bother me, but it can be a little misleading on one or two of those ships out there that do it that way. On some of the larger ships, or the newer ships, or the ones that have been recently renovated, you might have other things like Guy Fieri's burgers, different things like that. You could have the Italian restaurant, which is normally free for lunch, pay for dinner. With each ship, there could be specialty things. Some things cost more, like the steakhouse or bonsai sushi. So look out for things that might cost something. But what I'm talking about, the MDR, the Lido, the Pizza Pirate, those are all free. There's generally a grill as well, where you can get like a Reuben sandwich, really nice ham and cheese, grilled cheese, whatever. So those normally are open most hours. I think it's like 11 to 11. They're often open, something like that. It can vary by ship. So that's another option. And then there's also the room service. Room service is 24 hours, but the menu has two components. One component is the free food, and the other component is the food that costs money. I don't personally use room service very often because I've got 2 feet and a heartbeat and I can go up to Lido just fine. They do have some things on their menu you can't get elsewhere, like PB&J. So there's a couple of things that are sort of special to them. And when you do order room service, even if it's the free stuff, generally it's accepted that you will tip the person delivering. A general standard I know that Cam and Burton have used in the past is $1 per item they bring. So there's that. Part of the room service also, they have a breakfast thing where you fill out a little hanger and put it on your door by a certain time, and you select a certain time that the food comes in the morning. So there's a lot of varieties of food options available. 24-hour ice cream or frozen yogurt stations are normally up and running. Hot chocolate, water, iced tea, lemonade, those sorts of things are available as well. One thing that might confuse a new cruiser is that on a Carnival ship, you generally have more than one restaurant. And so the restaurant you're assigned to will appear on that sail and sign card. The Truffles restaurant, the Paris restaurant, whatever it is, it will be identified there, and that is often tied to your type of dining. For example, your time dining could be in a different restaurant than the scheduled dining, and so you want to know to go to the appropriate place. But that doesn't mean you can pick and choose. You pick, when you check in, online preferably, which kind of dining you want, but you don't get to pick and choose at the restaurant unless you could game it out and figure out which is which if you did some research, if you really cared. I don't think it makes a difference as to the quality of the food. It's just the location of the restaurant, really. On some smaller ships, or depending on how the ships are laid out, it might be different levels of the same restaurant. So, deck 5 might be scheduled dining, and then deck 4 could be the your time dining, even though it's the same name of the restaurant. Hopefully that explains from sort of a novice and a new perspective what the dining options are on a cruise ship, on a Carnival cruise ship, and what those options are and kind of how they work. I know personally, obviously I don't like, going in unawares and doing the wrong thing, going to the wrong place. Everyone on YouTube tells you to like and subscribe and comment. I'm not going to do that.